let me introduce myself a bit further here. Give you my nerd credentials about who I am here. I so born and raised in Puerto Rico. My ancestry is from Spain. My dad is from San Sebastian. My mom's from Arecibo. So you know so it's good to have that full on that full influence. And um, so shout out to Puerto Rico and Spain. Obviously, the topic at hand here is mental empowerment. So, what experience do I have in mental health? So, I am certified as both a peer and trauma support specialist with lived experience, and I'll explain shortly. Well, I'll explain what that means. So, I'm an advocate for youth, adult, and family domestic violence and sexual abuse. And so with that comes that lived experience, and my role within both the arts, games, and game industry, as well as within the mental health industry, is to talk with those and support those going through it, and and how we can overcome it, or at least establish better stability within it, within our daily lives, to maintain a sense of purpose and direction for ourselves, right? To keep being a voice, for ourselves, our family, those who mean something to us, and our community, right? I'm also a I'm a re-emerging game developer and designer. I used to call myself an indie dev and designer, but I was an indie dev and designer. I'm now a re-emerging. I'm re-emerging from the things that have happened with me. Um, and dark various realms of darkness tried to take those things away from me, and it almost worked, but it didn't, because here I am, talking about it, and I made it through, and I'm still making it through. And it's a daily thing, but I'm here, and I'm fortunate enough that I'm able to discuss this and share the things that I'm going to share today. I'm just super honored to be a part of all of this. So, um, and I'm leading the charge more with leading the charge to add +5 endurance, resilience, and mental empowerment to unite all the voices that are out there louder than ever. Uniting them in from just the arts into the interactive arts, meaning game development and design, story narration, poetry, music, film, animation, um, fine art, digital art, and more. Just so much more. So, to say what I'm not, and I think this is important. You know, this is important for you all, including myself. To as a daily reminder, what we are not. I am not the mental illnesses that I've had. I am not that. I am not a victim. Um, you know, I you know I I am what I put into my day each day. So, um, with that said, um, my nerd credentials, my actual nerd credentials are as follows. So, November Rain, as I am now, I am the founder and creative director of November Rain. It was previously known as Nascent Games, from 2012 to 2019. In that time, I released a game called Crumple, Episode One. It is a flash game, which means it probably won't work anymore. But it's done. It's made. It's out there. Um, and if you're able to still play flash games, you can go on Game Jolt. It's free. So, if there are any issues, reach out to me, and I'll share how to reach out to me later on. Okay. Um, you know, Running November Rain now, to expand the vision of what originally was for Nascent Games. I am also the founder, and podcast host of uh, newly created podcast, not several months old, called Above the Flaw. And Above the Flaw is kind of what we're talking about here today. This segment is an example of that. It's a live podcast that I do every couple of Wednesdays and Wednesday evenings. In fact, about an hour or so, in about an hour and a half or so, once I get done here, I'm gonna do my podcast. So and I'll share all those details on how to tune it. So if I haven't bored you by the end of all this, you'll be, and you want to hear a bit more, I have a very special guest. I have a gentleman from NVIDIA. He's the head of strategic initiative for NVIDIA, focusing on diversity and inclusion on the global scale. He'll be my guest, Lewis Stewart. So there's that, and the idea behind that is we're talking about mental empowerment, mental health, in the games industry, and how important it is to keep that message going. I was also the chapter head for IGDA Sacramento from 2013 to 2018. It then became an independent presence, the Sacramento Developer Collective, which still exists today. I had passed that torch, like mentioned, in fall of 2018, which was the plan, and I'm happy to say, despite um, despite the certain elements of bittersweet, how bittersweet it was, I did it, and I got it done. From that, also, I founded the Sacramento Indie Arcade. I had the pleasure of meeting wonderful people like Corali Rosario because of IGDA through the Sac Indie Arcade, and I ran the Sac Indie Arcade from 2013 to 2018, where it was a celebration of local and regional indie developers and designers, and it was beautiful. Many beautiful memories were made, and I'd be lying if I said that I didn't miss the experiences from that. Then, currently, I also founded a spoken word radio show called Stand as One, and I turned it into an open mic, live in person event. Been doing that since 2009, so for a very long time, because poetry is very, very important for me. Poetry, story, narration, all very important for me. The author of 4 self published poetry books. I'm working on my 5th one now, and all on Amazon. If you want to know more, ask away later. Um, and I think this is one of the most important parts of my nerd credentials. My favorite 3 games. What are my top 3 games of all time? Journey, all number one. Oh my God, number one. Journey, which is one of the greatest games of all time. So, absolutely Journey. And then next, Chrono Trigger on the Super Nintendo. Also was on the Nintendo DS with some added, anime scenes, and it was really cool to see that. But definitely Chrono Trigger. Though I confess I never played Chrono Cross other than hearing the soundtrack, which is beautiful, just beautiful music. So, but Chrono Trigger, very deep, special place in my heart for my entire life. Oh my God! And then now this third one is not what I ever expected would hit my top 3 of all time. Very, very, small game, if you will, with a pretty interesting cult following called Earth Defense Force. So Earth Defense Force number 5, particularly, I've been in love with that series since the Xbox 360 days. Even though there was a Super Nintendo version of the game, it was a completely different game, unrelated to how the game plays today. But Edie, I put Earth Defense Force 5 because that game actually saved my life, and it was I wrote a game review and mental health from a mental health perspective as well as a gamer perspective. On a small little local website in Northern California. Shout out to Last Token Gaming, post gamer perspective. On a small little local website in Northern California. Shout out to Last Token Gaming. Posted my very first mental health review / game review on that site because that game saved my life, and I explained why in this review. But that, yeah, I also have to give shout out as well to the Forza Horizon series, because Forza Horizon also saved me. So yeah, my game development experience is, though I'm not a coder, I'm not an artist. I am a world builder. I do story narration. I do level design, sound design, and creative direction. That's me. Um, I never thought, I never thought I would ever list those kinds of skill sets, because for me it was all about just poetry, and that was it. Didn't think there was any other value behind that. Yes, there is. So, I mean, ultimately, poetry is what one of the main drivers for me making video games. So, with all that said, let's talk about the things that we're going to talk about today. So there's three primary topics here. The first one is going to be don't press select, don't select, go at it alone in the options menu. Okay, what does that mean? We'll get into that. The second thing we're going to talk about is it's only overwhelming if you allow it. We'll get into that. And then the final thing we'll talk about is, did you press pause to breathe? Okay, so let's get right to it. Don't select go at it alone in the options menu. Resilience does not only come from doing it ourselves, but also from resolving it together. Okay, so one thing that's very important behind this is being cooperative in your craft. Okay, um, something for a long time we've I am definitely guilty of this. A lot of us probably probably narrow our skill set to and we end up selling ourselves short when we're capable of so much more. And it's and that type of mentality impacts us in a whole lot of ways. Especially for indies who are by themselves, guilty, or for others who are working with a team, but but don't often feel like that they're contributing what they should. And whether it's from their own self doubt or from others who are not being supportive, or not, who are just not being supportive. There's so many avenues with how, you know, our value gets impacted. Um, so with the upcoming global game jam, those who are going to partner up with folks, or those who have been, well, I really should say those who have hesitated to partner with those because maybe they don't feel like they're going to be strong enough. Maybe they feel like, well, I only know sound. Who, I don't. There's a question on your self confidence. Or I'm an artist, but I don't know if my art's good enough. Is my sound good enough? Do I know enough coding languages to contribute something? Um, yeah, you do. The answer is yes to all of it. But I think, part of the thing that's really important here is, you know, don't sell yourself short. And not easy because there's so many things telling us why we should. There's so many things telling us why we should. Um, and you know, but at the end of the day, you know, we're here. For a lot of us are here because this is the only way we can express something we're feeling, and we don't know how to say it. We don't know how to say that. We don't know. So I need so you so you know so we need to draw it. We need to we need to make a different sound. We need to tell a story in a fictional way. You know, and you're worth that. Though all those things are worth that. And you know, so but how do you expand on that? How do you not confine yourself to this one little skill set? That was a problem for me for a long time. I mentioned a few minutes ago about, I know a lot of poetry. I'm pretty good at my poetry. Um, you know, but I was also a DJ. I still am a DJ to this day. And but what were those things worth? Turns out, you know, um, being able to create a game design document, holy crap, you know, and being able to actually create a soundtrack, and sound effects for my games. Yeah, I enlisted some help in that, but I was able to do that even though I couldn't code for my life and I can't draw for my life. You know, I still had value. So, and there's more to come. There's more to come for me. There's more for me to learn from that. So, anyway, one of the key things asked, here is learning from one another. The teams that you're going to connect with for Global Game Jam, you need to learn from one another, and you know, pay close attention. Pay close attention to not just what they know, but how they learned it. What they went through. And for those who are being asked that question, share that information. Don't every so often I see these stingy people who are, who don't want to share someone like, they want to kind of keep it close to the chest. Please, please don't do that. Because you're all supposed to be working together, and it's super important. One of the main reasons why it's super important, because that's how you're going to understand each other's strengths and flaws. How you understand each other's strengths and flaws, and how you translate that into a game idea and bringing it to life. So, with that, one of the other benefits is that you're going to be able to understand each other's limits. Because yeah, they're the strengths, but what are the limits? What can I do? What can't I do? Being able to talk about those things, being able to communicate that. It's for those who are really shy, really introverted, or have never done it before, but have always wanted to. You've got two extremes here. You've got those who don't know what to say because they're super shy. They're like, I don't know if I'm going to say the right thing. I don't know. And then there's the other one where it's like, oh my god, I've had so much to say, and then it's just word vomit. But no, but everyone's like, what's happening? He or she is nerding out right now. It's like they're nerding out, which is great, but also we got to rein it in. You have to be able to start taking the pieces of all that's been said. So understanding both sides of the spectrum is going to be very important with that communication throughout your development time during Global Game Jam, and if you're lucky, after the Global Game Jam, because we have seen some teams be so inspired and so well connected that they keep going. And how nice that would be. How nice that would be to see some people who connect, throughout this event, and you know, and like, can we keep this going after this is done? Yes, that's what we want. So let's, you know, so there's so many important matters. There's so many important things behind that, important benefits. So, but one thing, and I kind of mentioned this a few moments ago with about, the person who has so much to say, and then we just kind of like, okay, slow down, slow down. That goes into boundaries. Establishing the boundaries, not overextending yourself, establishing those boundaries from the start altogether is going to be very important for you and your team. Okay, because it keeps your goals realistic, thus your milestones, for this game idea realistic. Okay, so teamwork, right? Teamwork. So hopefully that all makes sense so far. Now, um, so now we're on to stage two. It's only overwhelming if you allow it to be. The thing about walls, okay, I know what they say in the news, what has been said in the news and the media about walls this, walls that. Listen, walls are meant to climb. You understand? Walls are not meant to confine. Walls are meant to climb. Okay? Walls are meant to climb. Or, my favorite, the third option, because there's a secret third option if you didn't know, walls are meant to demolish. So, That's my favorite part. I like demolishing the hell out of it. It's like, how'd you get here? So, be a wrecking ball. So, like that song. But I'm not going to sing it. Because this is for free, folks. Just kidding. So, the idea, as I said, walls are meant to climb, not confined. It's only overwhelming if you allow it. What does that mean? It means pay attention to your dialect. How do you talk about yourself when it comes to your craft? What you're capable of, or if this is new to you, what you want to learn, and how you're willing to, and this is the most important part, receive that information. Do you want, because think of it like a character screen, where you're deciding, do I want to be, a dark elf? Do I want to be an ogre or an orc? Do I want to be a human warrior, an elven warrior, so on and so forth? In this case, you have two choices. Do you want to be your own best friend, or do you want to be your own worst enemy? Okay, because what you decide from there will impact everything else that happens, over the next week, or however much time you give yourselves during this time for Global Game Jam. Okay, it starts with your dialect. For example, many of us who are in the arts are our own worst critic, right? We are our own worst critic, and when something goes wrong, usually going wrong means I didn't get enough comments on this new piece of art that I did. Oh my god, I don't think I have enough. I don't have enough likes. I don't know how many I was thinking, but this isn't enough. Or no one's looking at my stuff. Or oh my god, someone else drew this thing I did, something similar, or wrote this thing, or made this sound that I made, or whatever, or took this game idea that I really wanted to create, and someone else is doing it. Someone else is doing it. Usually, when something like that happens, we run. We run. We give up. Or, and that's probably the worst case scenario, giving up is the worst case scenario. But normally, the reaction is, I can't do this. I can't. I can't. We get pissed and we start writing posts and blogs about how we're feeling, and like how pissed we are about this thing. And it's like, that's it, I'm giving up. And then you get, you start getting these responses, either supportive or not supportive. It's a human thing to feel that way. It's a very human thing to feel that way. But it's not the end all, and it shouldn't be the end all. It shouldn't be the end all for you. So again, it's changing the dialect. Instead of saying I will run away, instead of saying I will run away, you say I will run forward. For example, I'm going to run forward. You want to run? Great, because that means you have strength. You still have strength, because running takes strength. So you may have given up, but you still have this. You still have a level of strength to run. So if you're gonna run forward. Don't run away. We need you. We need you. Global Game Jam needs you. Puerto Rican Game Developers Association needs you. Indie studios, bigger studios who are actually doing this right and not taking advantage of artists, developers, designers, story narrators, 3D modelers, animators, and so on, programmers. Who are treating them well. We need you more than ever. Because there are places who are not getting this right. We need you more than ever. Dreams are getting killed because of the sabotage. No more. You understand? Does that sound preachy? Too bad. Because enough's enough. Enough's enough. We need you more than ever. So your team, whether you're part of a team or whether you're by yourself, more important than ever that you understand your value, you understand each other's strengths and flaws, you understand each other's limits, but you support one another and you say, we're going to get this done. Where can I help? and I'm going to get into that a little bit further for the next topic. Okay, so with that, another important aspect of this is owning what you declare. Okay, I am somebody. For example, I am somebody. I am a 3D modeler. I'm not that good at it, but I want to learn more. I am a programmer, but I only know this language. I want to know more. I am a story narrator, but I've only done fiction. I've only done fantasy. I've never done sci-fi. I've never done horror, or vice versa. Okay? You put value once you put value, excuse me, once you own what you have declared, I am this, own it. How do I make it better? How do I learn off each other, learn from one another, and how do I um, be be an important asset to my team? Or if you're working by yourself, if you're choosing to work alone, how do I do it for myself? Because at the end of the day, and again, this is the thing I'll talk about in the next couple of things. It comes down to ultimately self-care. Whether you're with your team, you're with the team, or you're by yourself. Self-care is the foundation, needs to be the foundation to everything you make. However you choose to do that. Okay? In the last level, stage 3, did you press pause to breathe? Let's do that right now. I want everyone to shut their eyes, and I'm going to have to trust that everyone's shutting their eyes. And you keep your eyes closed for a moment, okay? You're going to stop. You're going to listen to what's around us, okay? Now, slowly open your eyes as you take in a deep breath. Slowly, and you exhale, let out the breath slowly. Okay? Now, how much better did you feel just now doing that? Is this moment the first time you've done this today? Okay. Whether it has or hasn't, funny enough for me, it's my first time doing that today. So, woo, I love it. I needed it. Here's why what I just did, is important. We often, and I definitely can speak from deep personal experience. Lot of darkness, creating a lot of self-doubt, creating a lot of, what is this all worth? Do I deserve this? Do I deserve to keep telling my story? It takes a candle. It only takes a candle to quell the darkness. It only takes a candle, not a bright light, just a candle. It just takes a candle to push the darkness back. When you, as you get, not when, excuse me, as you get more and more involved and invested during this week, during this Global Game Jam event, remember to pause. Now, there will be some debate on momentum, okay? Because there's been a thing throughout the game industry where, magic has happened because of the momentum. But but the part that they fail to throw in there is that momentum was a 15-hour workday. Enough. Nada más. So, nada más. Overkill, folks. It's overkill. get your rest. Make sure you get your rest, okay? Because at the end of the day, it comes down to this: whether you are still or you are in motion, you are going to get it done. And that's something you got to say this to yourself. Whether I am still or whether I am in motion, I am going to get it done. This is a great global game jam, and other game jams provide a great opportunity um, and it's not advertised, but there's this hidden opportunity to learn balance, and it's balance within the the balance of I'm on a roll, I can't stop now. I was struggling to start something, and now, oh my God, look at what's happening. I can't stop now. Okay. But then, oh my God, I haven't gotten up from my chair, and I've been kneeling forward like this for hours. So, self awareness is going to be one of the most important things. Self awareness really should be your default skill set in anything, especially when it comes to game development, game design, and I think self awareness. I feel personally, um, I think on both a personal and a professional level, when people ask, because we've been seeing these questions a lot more lately. When it comes to these game jams, like, what do I need to know? How much experience do I need to have when it comes to participating in this? And shout out to the PRGDA who answered this in their Twitch a little while ago. You don't need it. But I would add that self-awareness should be your default skill set. I think self-awareness is your prerequisite. Are you aware of your surroundings? Are you aware of your skill set? Are you aware of what you can contribute? Are you aware of, are you self-aware of how you feel when you get a certain way, when certain things happen? That, I think, personally, like I said, personally and professionally, is a default skill set. If you have that, or if you don't but want to do better in that, this is it. This is the time. This is a fantastic opportunity to, pardon the part of the analogy, but be the oxygen mask in the airplane, right? When we're in an airplane and they talk about the oxygen mask in case of an emergency, what are they telling us when it comes to the oxygen mask? Are we putting it on other people first? No, ourselves. And the same thing is here. How do we take care of ourselves in order to help others? Self awareness, right? Understanding where we are or understanding where we want to go, or both, right? So if you're with a team, or you're solo or with your team, pay very close attention to the needs. And again, whether you're solo, pay attention to your needs. Look at what you've done so far. Look at what remains. Look at what needs to be done. If you're with a team, talk to your team. Find out what's going on, and watch how, pay attention, and don't do this in a creepy way. Watch their faces. Watch how they're like handling things. Like I said, don't just stare at them, like, don't do don't do that. Like, I wonder if this person needs help. Don't do all that. Okay, it's hilarious, but also if they happen to look at you, they're like, what the shit? So yeah. Okay, so pay attention to where you can help, but also, and this is super important, and this is a character flaw of those who want to give it all, to give it all we got and help everyone that we possibly can. You can't all There are things you won't be able to help with, but understanding those limits, as we talked about earlier, going to be super important. Find out where you can, help where you can, but find help where you can't help. Make sense? Find help when you can't help. Okay? When you yourself can't do it. Okay? Because what you do and don't do is going to impact both you and your team, and ultimately your project, right? So find that help, you just find that help to help keep things going as well as you possibly can. Okay. And now when it comes to you, what if I need help but I've never been good at asking for help. Well, practice. You know, because it would be easy for me to say, well, kick yourself up and just push yourself to. Listen, come on. Some respond to the nudge, like, come on, you got this, but some need a different type of, a more subtle motivation, and that's up to you. Again, it goes back to that self-awareness, paying attention to where you need help and not being afraid to ask for it. Okay, and this goes back also to with what I said earlier with the importance of understanding the strengths and flaws of your team. Okay, because once you have that better understanding, it'll be natural. Not because I was about to say easy, but not necessarily easy, but natural with getting help, knowing how to ask for help, and not feeling like, oh my god, I'm failing already. Oh my god, look at me, I'm already asking for help. It's all right. It's okay. This is You have veteran developers and designers still asking for help today. You know, because we don't know everything. We shouldn't know everything. And if you say you know everything, you're full of it. You don't. You don't. So the whole point of this, as I said earlier, to learn from one another. Okay. So do that. Now, when that has happened, things are going through, you know, remember at the end of the day, when it comes to this, stop when you need to, okay? You stop when you need to, but then you push forward as you intended to, okay? So because you got a project, you have this game idea, you are now part of this thing that for some of us we have never been a part of before. We have never been a part of anybody who's accepted us. This is it, okay? So, but remember, you are still human and you have to take care of you. No one can take care of you but you, right? So they can help, but at the end of the day, it's on you. You make it happen. You make it work, but you work together. Okay? Don't alienate yourself or don't alienate others, right? So, because we need each other. And like I said at the start of this, we need each other more than ever. More than ever. So, as we approach the end of this, you know, little, little, little thing that's important, and this is part of the mantra for both November Rain itself and for Above the Flaw, my podcast. I will continue, and not continue the way it's normally spelled, but continue, Y-O-U, continue. What does that mean? Is a saying that I have here. Who I am matters. Who I help matters more. How I care for myself matters most. Did you hear that? I'm going to say it again. Who I am matters. Who I help matters more. But how I care for myself matters the most. Okay? I hope those things make sense, because if that's not there, it's good. You're going to have a lot of challenges throughout the Global Game Jam, and you owe it to yourself, to to adapt, to to put value in your craft, and to learn from one another. Learn from one another. The different perspectives, the different crafts. What you all are capable of, and how you can do it together. Right. So, I'm going to talk about, kind of highlight my website, November Rain. The website is novrain.art. That's my website. So happy that I was able to get a .art domain, which I thought was just the coolest thing. I was like, oh my god, no .com, no .net, and a .art. I'm like, whew, I love it. Beautiful. So NOVREIGN.art. Okay, for November Rain. Now, I have a podcast, like I mentioned earlier. It's a live podcast every couple of Wednesdays, called Above the Flaw. Okay, and that website is abovetheflaw.podbean.com. So that's where I have my I have my podcast website, and yeah, that's two ways to stay connected with me. You know, the thing about I think the difference with where I was with Nascent Games and where I am now with November Rain is that it's personal now for me. It's very personal. So, the story I began to tell with Crumple in episode one, um, there's more. There's more coming. In fact, I will share here because I've not actually shared this. Um, anywhere. So hey, bonus information, guys. Breaking news, I guess. Yeah, yeah, woo. So I'm doing a port of Crumple episode one, which again, as I mentioned earlier, was made in Flash, but I am now reworking it in ClickTeam Fusion, um, and hoping to get it on the Xbox, hoping to get it on Xbox and PC, with some added touches. We'll see how that's going. It's slow going, but it's going. That's the important part, right? Secondly, the episode two for Crumple, the trailer is very close to being. It's a lot very close to being done, and I'll be able to showcase that. The first official gameplay trailer for Crumple episode two very soon. You can, that said, see a teaser for episode two on my website. It's right there. It was initially meant to be very cryptic, but unless people really, really paid attention to the very end of the trailer, where because ultimately it's a letter that I as the creator wrote to the character that I created. Um, it was my way of talking to the this character and saying, "I'm sorry for leaving you over here, because I was going through this thing." And it talks more about it. It highlights all of it in this little teaser trailer. So I would I would say, hey, if you're interested, go check it out. I will also share um, that I myself am planning to register with the Puerto Rican uh, Global Game Jam, for this event. I didn't think I could, but I'm going to. So. So more on that soon. So yeah, we'll see. Well, what comes from it, I have no idea. So I'm gonna have to be sure to follow my own advice on this PowerPoint as well, right? So there's that. And so yeah, and also I mentioned earlier my podcast. My next podcast is in about an hour from now. So if interested, again, it's abovetheflaw.podbean.com. If you're on the Puerto Rican if you're on the Puerto Rican Game Devs Discord, I'll be posting it in the streaming section in a little while, so you can tune in, because I have special guest Lewis Stewart from NVIDIA, where we're going to be talking about diversity and inclusion, the pros and cons of diversity and inclusion, the how artificial intelligence can benefit us, or can it actually benefit us, and then some. I also want to share one last bit of breaking news, I guess you could say. Um, the next podcast will be next Wednesday, and I have my very special guest, and I can't believe this is even happening, Celia Hodent, author of Psychology of Games, um, huge advocate for the user experience. She will be my guest for next Wednesday, and we're going to be talking about um, the the roller coaster of emotions and the psychology behind not just UX, but um, the consumer, the game design versus the game designer and the game developer. So for those who know who Celia Hodent is, She is a force to be reckoned with, and recently did the ran the UX summit online, and I'm just honored to have her as my guest for next week. Um, so there you go. That said, let's go to some questions. Question number one that I'm seeing here, um, I like this one. Any tips on how to get out of designer's block, like writer's block, but when making games? Here's something I did years ago um, with a poem, right? Because I was in that same situation. Um, I ended up I ended up doing a poem about writer's block. So maybe in this case, you do something, to talk about that exact thing. The thing about writer's block, or the creative block, if you will, is it's that stopping point, and I think because it goes to the momentum versus break thing. Like, oh my god, I just came up with 3 or 4 great game ideas, but now I just came across this other thing, this theme, or this theme for a competition or a game jam, and my god, I have no idea. I have no idea what to do. Maybe the thing about maybe the way to conquer that block is to embrace the block. Here's the thing about that, because I talked about that earlier about walls, right? Walls are meant to climb or demolish, guilty, but not confine, right? I'm going to take it to a pretty extreme example here, because I am in mental health, but trauma is the same thing. Trauma works in a very similar way. The thing about trauma, just like the writer's block, the creative block, is what do we expend so much energy trying to get rid of it. It's like, oh my god, I gotta, this can't be here. This can't be here. It's like I need it to go away. Because my juice, the juices aren't flowing, the creativity, the imagination, the ideas, they're not happening. Now, again, extreme example when it comes to trauma, but I say this so you all understand the principle. There's a parallel, behind it all. The first thing I learned in trauma support was not to push away the trauma, but to acknowledge it. Right? When I learned that, it hit me hard. Like, wait, what? It's like, and here I am, like, but it's a block, but it's a bad thing. No, acknowledge it, because at that point, and then what do you do from there? Because from there, when you acknowledge it, you then get to say, now get out. You've been here too long. Thank you for inspiring me to come up with something more. The thing about bad feelings, the thing about these blocks, is that if we don't acknowledge it, it doesn't it can't go away. It doesn't go away. So acknowledge it, and make something from that. Make something from that block. You know, and what also helps is listening to some music. Listening to some music that gets you out of that headspace that you're in. Either listen to music of a song or a podcast that gets you out of that headspace. Sometimes, and here's the thing, and I talked about this earlier, between momentum and break. When was the last time that you stood up? When was the last time that you walked around to just let take in some oxygen? Did you eat? Did you have anything to eat or drink? Artists, us creatives, we're super guilty of that. We're like, oh my god, I haven't eaten in hours but look at this beautiful thing I made. But you know, but we have to recharge. We owe that to ourselves to recharge. Um, and those things help. Those different things help. Because there's different levels of that creative block. So that's why I threw in these different examples from starting small with music, just getting up. The acknowledgement of that block is the most important, though. No, acknowledging it's there instead of doing what you can to push it away. It's like, oh my god, you don't belong here. It's like, no, you got to acknowledge it first. Acknowledge that it's there, and then go to town. go to town with it and harness that. So, and then look at analyze how you're feeling. But don't spend too much time analyzing, because as creatives we tend to overanalyze. I'm super guilty of that. So I hope that helps. I really hope that helps answer that question. The next question that I see here, which engine would you recommend to start with game development on a game jam? So, Microsoft Word, not a game engine. Understood. But you're gonna use that to write an idea. You're gonna write out your idea. You're gonna write out what you're capable of, and then from there, you're gonna look at, and you're doing that so you can, because you want to get out of your head what kind of thing you want to make. Okay, because that's what it comes down to. Start there, or some type of notepad, even pen and paper. The amount it's refreshing to see the amount of digital focused folks, humans is what I'm trying to say, that still have a journal and just write a bunch of stuff out. It's super helpful. Now, of course, we had like Microsoft Word. Are you out of your mind? It's like, yeah, I am out of my mind. Being out of our mind is part of being a creative, right? That's art. So, but now you want to take it further, technical side of it. So, um, I will say the one thing that I've been dabbling with. I've been dabbling with a couple low level. I shouldn't say low level. That just kind of sounds diminishing. So no. So strike that from the court record. Not low level. Okay. Um, Game Boy Studio, or GB Studio, I should say, not Game Boy. GB. We all know it stands for Game Boy. GB Studio is one thing that that's what I'm going to be using for Global Game Jam, for the game idea that I have. Um, I mentioned Click Team Fusion. Fusion is a really good one um, to build those small things. So you got Fusion. There's always Game Maker, but you see, it all depends on the type of game you want to make, and that's why I said Microsoft Word or pen and paper, because you have to, because you need to know what kind of game you want to make first. So, any one of these engines, of course, I can say that, the top, top end engines, Unreal, Unity, things like that. But you really need to understand first what kind of game you want to make, and then from there, um, maybe do some comparisons, on YouTube. But remember, this is a game jam; you don't have that kind of time. So be sure to spend a little bit of time if you need to. Do it at the beginning. Just spend a little bit of time. I would say 15 minutes, 30 minutes, not too much, because again, you got a game you want to make, and you got people waiting, and and that cohesiveness with your team is super important. Okay, so but do that, but that research is important. So, okay, so again, as kind of a rundown, GB Studio, I would even say Pico 8. Pico 8's awesome. Tick 80 is another one. Those are the smaller form factor. That's a better word than low level. Smaller form factor engines. I've dabbled with them. I really enjoy them. I'm enjoying them so far. Click Team Fusion. Okay, and then you've got Game Maker, you've got Construct, you've got Unity, Unreal. Okay, um, so so has it got another? So I hope that helps. Okay, hopefully that helps. Third, any tips on how to select what game to make based on the theme of the game jam, particularly when people in a group all have ideas and opinions on what to do? Consensus. You come to a consensus. You all, because part of the it's both a blessing and a curse. One of the toughest parts is not, the last day of making the game, is coming up. It's agreeing on what you're going to make at all, right? So I think it, come to, talk about what's realistic. This is why I mentioned earlier about the importance of understanding your team's, or your own, and your own strengths and flaws, your own skill sets, because from there, you know then that will help, come to a good happy medium with the type of game you want to make, right? So, but the important thing is communication. And, but in also that communication is not overpowering one another when it comes to discussing these different ideas, right? Um, because again, you don't have that kind of time. And and if you all can't get along now when it comes to agreeing on a game idea, holy crap. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty tough after, down the road. Not impossible, but it's gonna make it that much more challenging. So again, this is where come to terms with the type of game you want to make. A platformer, something I've seen a lot. I typically see first person games, not necessarily FPS games. Just first person games or platformer games typically be done. So you just have to see, keep things small scale, and and keep the lines of communication open, but be sure you all set a time. And I think maybe this is the most important thing, really. Set an amount of time. It's like, okay, we're going to take 15, 20, 30 minutes to discuss this thing, and just maybe again, maybe throw ideas on a board or something like that, and type out, okay, we're going to start with this genre. Now, which game engines, are we going to use to make this genre? Now, how much, then it's how much are we going to put in this thing? So, it's, so, make sure, because, make sure though that the communication is consistent, is respectful, and it's mindful. And if, and I guess this is another important thing, because I've seen this personally in other game jams I've coordinated, is how upset some people will get because their game idea wasn't picked. I get it. There's a lot of passion when it comes to creativity, and especially when we are now in this realm of being able to create something. And it's like, my God, this is a game jam. We could do something from this. Um, don't get discouraged. You know, don't let it bring you down. Don't let it stop you. You can feel feelings, of course, yes, but don't let it stop you you know, from being a part of something so much more, because the whole point of Global Game Jam is creative togetherness, creating togetherness through creativity, and being that cohesive collective voice to let those out there know, you know, we got something we want to share. We have this idea. So I really hope that helps. I really hope all this advice. I really hope this presentation has been helpful for you all. Um, if you want to reach out, find hit, look for me on navrain.art. If you happen to be on the Discord, the PRGDA Discord, shoot me a message there. And I want to thank the PRGDA, and I want to thank everyone who worked together to make this happen. I'm just deeply honored to be a part of this, because truth be told, I just didn't think this would happen again. And I've been fortunate enough to be a part of this now, I think for my fourth or fifth time, where I've been able to talk about this stuff. And my heart's just elated. And, you know, I want you all to make sure that your voices are heard through your creative voices are heard, but also understood, and be there for each other, because there's just been too much out there that have tried to not even tried that have taken that pleasure, that passion, and that drive away from us, and it's no longer acceptable. So So do this. Keep it up. Okay? Or if you're new to this, welcome. Um, we hope you enjoy the stay, and I'm looking forward to seeing what comes from this. Make good memories and be mindful and be kind to one another. Okay? Um, because there's just too much out there trying to tell us otherwise. So from here, gracias por todo. And for all my Boricuas out there, represent, man. Okay? And thanks for everything. Adios.